Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick. It's been quite a while. In today's video, we're going to be working on the Kingslayer Glove from Game of Thrones. What are we doing today? It's been a long road since the last video. I think the last video was the hoverboard plutonium box that I built for my hoverboard from Back to the Future. And it's been a while since that video. We have moved. We have a new studio space. I have a giant workshop now. It's very exciting. So it took some time to set all those things up. I've gotten to the point where I'm able to work on more projects and more videos. I realized that the new Game of Thrones series, The House of the Dragon's coming out, and I decided, hey, I found this file online on Thingiverse. I'll put the name for the person in this area down here. So if you guys want to go check that out and find the file and print it out yourself, go for it. I thought it would be a great idea to print out the Kingslayer Glove from Game of Thrones. If you guys haven't seen the show, you can either watch it or don't watch it. Doesn't really make a difference to me. No actual spoilers, but for some reason one of the characters gets his hand chopped off and replaced with this glove. This is supposed to be a golden glove that's replacing his hand. It looks very real. I actually scaled the file up a bit because I think the original file is actually only 6 inches tall. So I actually just basically made it the same size as my hand. I don't know. I feel like this makes it look more realistic. It's about the same size as an adult hand. That's what I went with. This was a lot of fun to put together. So let's get out to the workshop and I'll show you guys how I put it together. Alright, so for this one, I started on my Ender 3 Pro. I printed this model with Hatchbox's white PLA. I'm going to start with a quick layer of primer, gray primer, with my favorite spray paint. It's nice and thick, and it fills in those layer lines pretty easily. I did have some issues with this print eventually after I started painting it. You can see the layer lines are so noticeable, and this detail on top of this glove is so nice, and with this really slightly raised detail on top of it. So I did have a lot of trouble sanding this down without destroying the detail that was on top of it. That was a big hurdle I had to kind of figure out how to deal with and try my best to sand down the layer lines but not destroy the detail. I gave it one more quick spray of primer. This was a little bit thicker of the same primer. I figured it out. It's Rust-Oleum. It's just a giant primer that's easy to spray. I then took a sandpaper to it and tried to get it a little bit smoother. The issue with this is I totally messed up. I applied too much sandpaper, and I know I don't give you guys a really good look at this, but basically I've smoothed out all the hard edges of the detail on the top of the fingers. I've gone back in and tried to carve them back out. That did not work. So I'm going to give it another shot with this print, this brand new print that I just printed. It took me another day and a half almost to print it out. For this, I'm going to start with some 600 sandpaper. Last before, I think it was 320 before. Hopefully with a finer sandpaper, I can get rid of some more of the lines without just breaking down all of that detail. Because maybe later in the process, it'll be able to hide some of those crimes and get rid of those things. We're going to start with another light coat of Rust-Oleum fillable sander primer. I'm going to do as light as I can just because I don't want to ruin it or destroy it anymore. I'm going to continue with the 600 sandpaper. I'm going to try to see if I can get rid of some more of those layer lines. You can see on the back of the palm, it's not that bad. It's really where the fingers are. Getting those fingers sanded down and not losing that detail is really, really tricky. You can kind of already see how the edge is already knocked off. I'm really struggling with this at this point. So my next idea is to use this dry Dex from DAP. It's a spackle that starts pink and turns white when it's dry. I'm not too confident in this idea and it ended up really not actually working. I really was able to use it for the tiny little cracks, but it really didn't help as far as getting those layer lines to go away. The spackle, it worked for what it's supposed to do, but the other issue is that there's already so much detail in this glove already that the spackle just filled in all those little details and stuff on the glove, on wherever like the gold texture was supposed to be. It just filled that stuff in, and I was absolutely unable to get the spackle out of the crevices around the detail, which I absolutely saw coming. I'm not an idiot. I thought that was going to happen, but I figured why not give it a shot. It might work. Off chance it may work out. So I did sand it down a little bit. It didn't actually work. All right, so I'm not letting this print become a failure. I have been painting it gray with primer. I've been painting it black with primer in the past. But this time I'm going to do a red oxide. I know I want it to be gold, so I'm thinking maybe a red instead of a black might look different as far as having a gold paint underneath it.
I did paint it with a metallic finish, Rust-Oleum gold. It's not as much like an antique gold. It's more like a new looking gold. I did like the color of the red underneath it, but I do think it made it look a little bit more orangey than what I was hoping for. All right, so this is the third print. Count it 3 times I printed this handout. For this one, I printed it a little bit differently. I adjusted the file in the program. I printed it at 0.12. The gold hand is 0.2 millimeters. That's why we had so many stepping issues before. The white hand, it has way less stepping problems. The layers are obviously closer together, so it's not going to have as many stepping issues. All right, so we're going to give a light coat to this third model. I'm using Rust-Oleum 2-in-1 fillable sandable primer. I'm just going to give a light coat to this. I don't want to overdo it at all with this. I've learned my lesson. I don't want to overdo the primer. The gold hand, you can see less detail on the fingers. It's a whole lot more knocked off on the edges, and it's not crisp like it used to be. So I decided to wet sand the model this time instead of dry sanding it like I did the other two. But the wet sanding usually has a glassier, smoother finish. So that's what I was hoping for. So I gave that a shot for this one. It turned out that it was a whole lot more smoother, and I lost less detail than before. All right, so I finally decided I was going to paint it with a black gloss paint. After that, I tested out a couple of different golds because, you know, the glove is gold, so I wanted to make sure it was the right color. I tested out gold leaf, also a gold leaf rub and buff, which was pretty nice, and then also liquid leaf. It's called liquid leaf. It's more of an antique looking sort of gold though. And I decided to go with the gold leaf rub and buff. I did a quick test with the rub and buff on one of the hands right here on the pinky. It's a little quick, but right there on the pinky, that's the rub and buff. I think it turned out pretty good. And I went ahead and started applying this rub and buff to the model. The rub and buff is basically like a waxy metallic, not like a cream or something, but it kind of comes out like a glittery toothpaste sort of. So I started applying it with a chip brush, and I put as much as I could on there without really covering the entire thing. I wanted to give it sort of like a weathered look with the black undertones with it, and I wanted to kind of make it look like it was a little bit tarnished, a little bit worn. But once I was done with it, it all looked really great, and I was really, really very happy with it.
All right, so as you can see, this was a mildly challenging print and project to work on. It doesn't seem complicated. It's a hand. It's not very big. There's no moving parts. It shouldn't be that difficult, but it was a little complicated, mainly because, as you could see, the details on the top were very hard to keep without killing and destroying them. What I may do in the future is, if I wanted to print this out again, I would probably fill it with some sort of sand or ball bearings or something to add a little bit of weight to it also. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be able to put it on the remaining part of his arm because there's no hand there. So I may do something to where it's like bored out inside, and then you could actually fit like a small wrist in it or something. Or I might just print it hollow because it's a glove. Maybe it's hollow. I'm not really sure. I don't remember seeing that in the show if it was hollow or not, but maybe it was hollow. Thank you so much for watching. That was a lot of fun. I do appreciate you guys watching and hanging out with me. If you guys had anything, any tips or any tricks about things that I was dealing with, leave it in the comments. Let me know. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, definitely like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much. Have a great day.